Councilman Brennan?
Here.
Councilwoman McKinney?
Here.
Mayor Buckafusco?
Here.
Councilwoman Rondinero?
Here.
Councilman Levis?
Here. Okay, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for our troops, their families, and our first responders. Thank you. First thing we have on our agenda is a proclamation in honor of Municipal Clerks Week. And I will read that. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of professional municipal clerk provides a professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and the agencies of government at all other levels, and whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. And whereas the professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the Office of Professional Municipal Clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk. Now therefore, I, Gerald Buckafusco, Mayor of the Borough of Belmar, do recognize the week of April 30th through May 6, 2023 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerk, April Claudio, and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Okay, next is workshop, and we are having a presentation by the Circle of Friends. Is anyone here to do the workshop? Come on up.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Thanks, Marshall. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for having us tonight. As you know, my name is Matt Doherty. I have the honor of serving in every position you're in, so thank you very much for your service to our town. Mayor and Council, I come before you tonight with a proposal from Circle of Friends. Circle of Friends is a 501c3 nonprofit. It was founded in 1996, and it's dedicated to providing social events for adults with intellectual disabilities. It was founded by Carol and Bob Capulli. Carol Capulli is here with us. Bob and Carol brought Circle of Friends to Belmar a few years ago, and I became involved when I was mayor, doing events at Taylor Pavilion, and then also in the gym when the Taylor Pavilion was destroyed by Sandy, and then back at the Taylor Pavilion when it was rebuilt. We currently host an event every month. So we are there at the Taylor Pavilion, and we thank you for that, with a dance, or we have a karaoke party at the Beach House right across the street on 8th Avenue. And so we do 12 events a year. We've decided to look to expand a bit beyond that. I'm joined tonight as well by some of our board members, Judy Rikozak, Katie McNulty, and also Nick Fusili. Now, as you know, Nick owns La Dolce Vita. So with his help, we've come up with an idea to have a Circle of Friends cafe, be like a pop-up cafe. Only lasts for about 4 months, just the summer months, at the Taylor Pavilion on the north side where La Playa was your most recent tenant last year. In discussions with your business administrator and current mayor of Freehold, Kevin Kane, we talked about the lack of interest in that location, because it's a challenge on occasion to make money in the summer months. And we thought, why not use that incredible asset the town has as a way to give something for our members to participate in during the summer. So I know nothing about the food industry or the restaurant industry, so that's why Nick Fusili has been so incredibly helpful in leading the effort into what this would look like. And it would be very simple. We would keep it very simple. We would do things like chicken fingers, French fries, hot dogs, pretzels, salads for those who need to lose weight like me, drinks, water, Pepsis, things like that, and then ice cream. So things that our members are able to provide to the public with relative ease. We would look to operate, maybe 9 to 5. We would work out the schedules with our members and volunteers. And what our ask is of the town is to permit us to be into that space really at no cost. Whatever the attorney would say would be required legally, maybe $1 a month. We would assume all responsibilities for maintenance, cleanliness of the space, along with the utilities, water, sewer, electric, things like that. For us, we think it's a great opportunity for our members. We also think it'd be a nice thing for the town to have up on the beachfront in a space that right now is not going to be utilized for the summer months.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions?
I just have a question. Thank you very much, Mayor Doherty. Thank you to the Circle of Friends family. We appreciate you, the services that Circle of Friends is able to provide for those with disabilities is so valuable that I can't even describe it. I've been to some of your events, and they are so meaningful. There's a huge gap in services once you graduate high school, and that's really what Circle of Friends is here to provide, is to provide socialization and engagement after those K through 12 years. As a social worker, that's very important to me, because I know that without that social engagement, there is illness, loneliness, depression. So I appreciate your hard work. I'm also in support of any program that enables individuals with disabilities to achieve employment. And so I would be interested in learning more about your presentation. I was wondering if there are any opportunities, any collaboration that maybe the borough or Circle of Friends can have with the New Jersey Division of Vocational Rehabilitation Services, anything that might be able to give us a grant, some sort of collaboration partnership to offset the cost.
Sure. Currently, we are 100% privately funded through donations from very generous people, and including businesses in town, and also our membership fee, which is very low. It's $25 for the entire year, and you get to come to 12 great events. I know, Mayor Buckafusco has been to them, so have you, Councilwoman. So right now, we don't have any applications pending in front of any state or federal agencies for grants, but it's certainly something we'd be interested in doing in the future. Sure.
I just wanted to remind the group that we did put this out to bid twice, and we got no takers from the public. So there has been no interest in leasing this space, even though we tried over the past month or two. So I just want to get that on the, in the minutes. That,
What was the minimum bid?
What was the minimum bid?
$5,000 a month. 5,000.
So do we have to put it out for $1?
No.
We don't.
No.
We can decide to move this up.
$2?
No.
Okay.
There's there's provisions in the law for leasing to 501c3 corporations, and we can operate within the law, leasing to Circle of Friends for a public purpose, essentially. So that's what it would be.
Okay, so I also think this is a great idea. I'm working with all these gals in the ADA. I just think this is a wonderful opportunity for these kids too. So as long as we're okay legally with the bidding and all of that, I think it's a great idea. So great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Doherty, would the members be able to get a paycheck?
So that's a great question. Right now, we anticipate setting it up so that our members would be volunteering. So again, this would be a 4-month pop-up. If we are successful, there are other models, particularly in Monmouth County, which we could follow. There's a restaurant in Middletown called No Limits Cafe, which employs folks with intellectual disabilities. In that case, yes, they get a paycheck at the end of every week, they get a W-2 at the end of the year, and we would like to get to a position where we're able to offer that, but we think that we need to take baby steps, and this helps us in that regard. So, it may, anyone up on the beachfront is subject to the weather. So if it rains constantly during the summer, it's going to be bad for badge revenue, and it's going to be bad for any businesses up there. But typically, businesses seem to do well up on the beachfront, notwithstanding the fact that no one bid on this. So we think that if we can show that we're able to, provide a good product and a good environment for our members, that maybe we can take that to another level. Potentially find some open space in Belmar on Main Street where we could put a more permanent cafe, and in that case, yeah, then we would look to actually have W-2 employees.
Wonderful. And there'll be supportive staff or like job coaches involved as well, whether that be professional or non-professional?
Absolutely, and if you've come to our events, I mean, we get inundated with volunteers. Some of our amazing volunteers, Joanne and Joanne, are here today, and they do a remarkable job. So in discussing it with our board is also made up of a few other members. We have our officers, Billy Young is our secretary, Jennifer Nicolay is our treasurer, and everyone is very supportive of this idea, thinks it can be successful. We just need to know that we have a good partner in the town to provide us with that space.
So where would the profits go? Just back to the Circle of Friends? That'd be...
Assuming there's any profitability. I like your enthusiasm.
Yeah.
It would all go into our account at Wells Fargo to benefit the members, expanding on the types of social events we have. Yeah, it would all stay there. The idea would be, to have everything cashless, much like the rest of the beachfront. So it's a simple accounting. Just go in with your credit card, tap it, and that's how you pay for your chicken fingers, French fries, and your chipwich. So yeah, all the money would stay within the Circle of Friends.
And what about pricing? Because we know how much you can charge for a hot dog up on Ocean Avenue, or some of these people have in the past.
Right.
Are we going to try to stay fair?
We are going to stay fair, but I will tell you that we are going to absolutely follow the advice of Nick Fusilli. I mean, he knows what things cost. He knows how to charge for it. He has more experience in this, and obviously runs a phenomenally successful restaurant on Ocean Avenue. What some folks may not know is, Nick used to, make pizzas, big giant boxes, and so he was not always as successful looking as he is today. He's done every part of the restaurant business, cleaning out grease traps. I mean, he's done it all. So having him on board and pushing this forward, makes us very confident that we can be successful.
Would you be looking at just a one-year sort of agreement, or would you be looking for something more multi-year at this point in time?
I think we would want to try for 1 year, and that's up to the borough. My guess is you guys are gonna try to go back out to bid again, and try to generate some revenue. But certainly if we're successful 1 year and you decide to, do this again a second year, yeah, no, we would definitely be interested in that. But that's something that you as a governing body will decide.
And would you be operating under your own insurance policy?
Yeah, I'm sure that your attorney will come up with whatever insurance policies are required in that space.
Okay.
We would carry whatever type of general liability policy that's required by the town. I would ask you to be as gentle as possible on us. We are not a major corporation. We do have some money. And we also, if we are successful tonight and have your support, we do anticipate hosting a fundraiser. Again, Nick, God bless him, has agreed to host one at La Dolce Vita in anticipation, for the lead up to opening this. Because, there's a lot of things you gotta buy. Napkins and, plastic forks. All this stuff, it costs money. So we'd like to put some money, additional money in the bank before we move forward and open it. So we'd anticipate doing that, something like that in May.
I for one think this is a good idea, especially if that space is just gonna be empty anyway.
I think it's a great idea. The only thing is obviously, touch base with Mr. McGill and get the necessary paperwork done, and hopefully we'll see it up on the beach.
Yes, I think it's a great idea, absolutely a great idea. One thing that keeps occurring to me, it's clear that you've done a lot of thought about a lot of the details, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to see just a written plan. I find that writing things down makes it easier to figure out what you're missing, what you've got covered, and I think that would make us feel a little more comfortable too. But the fact that no one's bid on the space and it's just sitting there, I think this is a great idea, absolutely. Very, very worthwhile.
We can certainly do that, Council President, get you a written plan, pretty much a narrative of what I just said.
Right.
I will also tell you, when you look at the space, if anyone's been in there, it's got great, the hoods are phenomenal, the gas lines are in, all the hand washing stations, to comply with Department of Health. But what it is lacking is the equipment. The deep fryer, the refrigeration, the freezers. So our friends at Beast Equipment have volunteered that they will loan us the equipment for all 4 months at no cost.
Huge step.
And they obviously want it back within the 4 months, but it works out great for us because we're not going to be there for 4 months. So that's another thing to help keep the cost of operating down. And we're looking to partner with Pepsi on the drinks as well. And we have a connection right here on 4th Avenue in Belmar of folks that work for that corporation as well.
Okay, very good.
I think you got some support here.
So,
Absolutely.
just to ask your counselor, so what would the council have to do? They need to pass a resolution authorizing you to execute the agreement with us?
Well, I think you and I will put together an agreement based upon, substantially based upon the lease that we bid. Tailor that to make sure that it fits, then we'll present it to the governing body and they can pass a resolution adopting and entering into the lease with Circle of Friends.
Any questions for our other board members or for Carol Capulli or other volunteers?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate your time.
Okay, to continue with workshop, does anyone on the council have anything they'd like to bring up during the workshop?
I have one thing to mention, Mr. Mayor. At the Harbor Commission meeting, we were presented a proposal by the New Jersey Shore Rowing Association, which is a group of lifeguards and former lifeguards who operate. They run the small shells. They were interested in possibly using one pass to share amongst their association for the boat ramp. So I think it might be something we want to address. They're another nonprofit organization, again, mostly made up of lifeguards who are practicing in their off time. So during the Harbor Commission meeting, I mentioned that I would address it to the council and see what their thoughts were on something like that. We could possibly look at something more on paper to see what it would look like, but essentially, what they would be doing is having one pass for the boat ramp that they would pay for, that they would share amongst all their members, rather than having an individual pass for each individual boat that they're using. So it is something to consider. I'd like you guys to take it into consideration, and hopefully we can help them out a little bit, because they are, again, groups of first responders that are really just practicing. There's no motors on these boats. They're just rowing. So that's all I have to tell you.
Are they going to present something to the
So
commission?
they presented to the Harbor Commission. Again, we can ask them to come to the council. We'd be interested in seeing it as well. Maybe something with a little bit more writing, but I'd be interested to have some type of agreement or something in writing that we can present to the council as well at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. It would be nice.
Absolutely.
Come.
Yeah, let's come and present.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other workshop matters? Okay, let's move on to petitions. April, do we have any petitions?
No, I did not receive any.
Okay, then I guess we're up to approval of the minutes.
Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of the April 11th meeting?
Motion?
Councilman Brennan?
Yes?
Councilwoman Kinney?
Abstain?
Mayor Bartolesco?
Yes?
Councilman Rondenaro?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Okay, reports of council. Council President Brennan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was not able to attend any of my meetings last week. I was away. But I can tell you that from what I read in the Coast Star, our Intrepid Coast Star report, it pretty much covered everything. The Tourism Commission, full speed ahead on the Seafood Festival. Everything's coming together really quickly and very well. And the Environmental Commission seems like they had a big discussion about the Verizon poles. A lot of that was in the paper. I'm sure they're in it. I know they've been communicating with the mayor with their concerns. Other than that, I'm just going to remind everybody that Belmar Porch Fest is 2 weeks from Saturday. There's no more openings for any acts. They're full. They have almost 40 acts ready to go. And I don't think they're really looking for any more porches, unfortunately. Could have used a few more in Belmar, but it's too late now. Okay. That's my report. Thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman Kinney?
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, so recreation, summer tennis lessons, kids running club, and fall soccer sign-ups start May 1st. All sign-ups must be done on belmar.com. You go on recreation, there's a link that says registration right on there. That's where you're going to sign up for everything. Summer concerts in the plaza will start May 26th at 6 p.m. There's going to be a concert every Friday, weather permitting. The last concert of the year will be September 1st. Recreation summer basketball sign-ups are going on now. Girls' numbers are very low, so if anybody wants to come out, any girls for girls' basketball, please do. Belmar Junior Guards sign-ups are going on right now. I can't express enough how much Junior Guards is such a great program in town. 6-year-olds, kids can start at 6 in Junior Guards. It used to be like 8 or 9. So 6-year-olds can start with Junior Guards, and I highly recommend it. It's such a great program, so check that out. And thank you to everyone who volunteered and came out to place the eggs and did the awesome Easter egg hunt. That is my recreation report. ADA, next meeting is Thursday, ladies, right? Okay, so I'll see you all Thursday at the library, 6:30. Shade Tree Commission, this Friday is Arbor Day. There's going to be 2 school events. St. Rose Grammar School is having an event at the library. The 4th graders are planting seedlings at 9:30 a.m. Belmar Elementary is doing an Arbor Day celebration in the auditorium at 12:30 at the school. Also, they will be distributing seedlings at Taylor Pavilion this Saturday, 9:30 to 11:30. They're free, and they are white dogwoods. So if you'd like to plant a tree in your yard, they are no charge and at the Taylor Pavilion between 9:30 and 11:30 this Saturday. The Shade Tree Commission would like to remind us all that the spotted lanternflies are back. So, the spotted lanternflies have moved into Monmouth County and are not apt to disappear anytime soon. There are methods that can help prevent their spread and reduce their impact on our gardens and trees. Managing the spotted lanternfly in your yard helps residents select the best management for their yard. So in partnership with the library, they're hosting an information for homeowners event Tuesday, Tuesday, May 9th, at 6 p.m. So what to do, you might see this flyer around, and that's also on the website. So don't forget to find out how you can manage and stomp out the lanternflies. Okay, and real quick around the school, St. Rose Grammar School, May 6th is First Holy Communion. May 12th is their spring concert at 7 p.m. in the church, which is followed by a student art show downstairs in the parish center, so check that out. St. Rose High School had their Godspell presentation, that was their theater production this past weekend. It was awesome at the the Spring Lake Theater. They did a great job. This whole week is Hope Week at St. Rose High School. This is great. It's a special event, special speakers discussing mental health, depression, and suicide prevention in school, in high school, and they have speakers every day this week and events and ways to get involved. So it's a really cool thing that they're doing in the high school this year. St. Rose High School PTA Spring Social this Friday. It's a fundraiser for the school this Friday at Bar A, 7 to 10, drinks and hors d'oeuvres, $35 at the door. And St. Rose High School received the Pioneer 2022 Fields of Excellence Award. So thank you to Mr. Mark Fletcher, who is the carer and maintains all the beautiful St. Rose High School fields out past the Ware Airport. Belmar Elementary School, Thursday, Bring Your Child to Work Day. Don't forget, bring your child to work. Friday, next week, Friday the 5th, May 5th is Cinco de Mayo. There's a piñata making contest, which sounds awesome. PTO fundraisers at Belmar Elementary, Raising the Bar, April 29th, that's this Saturday. It's a bar crawl for the parents. How cool is that? 3 to 6. Parents, information about that can be found on the website. Mother's Day jewelry sale in Belmar Elementary School is May 10th. All the jewelry is donated, and I think everything they're selling is only $1. So that's awesome for those kids. And the last Belmar Elementary School PTO fundraiser is the Color Run, May 12th, and that's at Memorial Fields. Again, information on that can be found on their website. And the last thing I have is Belmar Cares is doing their breast cancer support group concert Monday, May 1st. 7 to 8:30 at Taylor Pavilion, and that's the Atlantic Wind Ensemble who is performing. And that is my report.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Rondinero.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had the privilege last Saturday, as many of us did, to be at the Friendly Sons of Shillelagh's Polar Plunge for autism. It was a wonderful event. Mark did the plunge. I'm really grateful to Craig Coyle and the Friendly Sons of the Shillelagh for their continued fundraising. They are amazing, and they have made a generous donation to the Belmar Recreation Department, which we are very grateful. The next Belmar Housing Authority meeting has been moved from May 1st to May 9th at 5:15. April received 25 COVID tests from the Monmouth County Health Department, and those have been delivered to the building for the residents to use as needed. I was also going to mention the Belmar Cares event, Monday, 7 p.m. It's going to be such a wonderful event, and this is the only way that Belmar Cares really does go out for their donations. So please come, enjoy, bring your folding chair. You know, it is a free concert, but if you can make a donation at the door, I know that they would appreciate it, and I'm telling you that Wind Ensemble is fantastic. The library has author time. The Venerable Bahante Sujatha, the Loving Kindness Month, May 2nd at 12:30. And then Cinco de Mayo is going to be off the hook May 4th at 5:30 at the Taylor Pavilion, but please register online as the seats will fill up. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Mark Levis.
Thank you, Mayor. I just also want to mention the Shillelagh Plunge was really successful, and I want to thank our water rescue team for showing up and being on staff that day. Nobody drowned. I think, there's a lot of old men out there. Anything can happen. And also all the police from Belmar and then all over Monmouth County who showed up. It was really cool to see them all line the boardwalk with the autism awareness logo on the back of the cars from all over the place. And also our first aide who was there as well to make sure that nobody got hurt and everybody was okay. I'd also like to mention Belmar Elementary School had their first ever National Junior Honor Society induction last night. And I'd like to read the names of the 8th grade, 7th grade, and 6th grade members who were inducted last night. So in the 8th grade class of 2023, we had Miles Karstens, Richard Conklin, Lilith Fries, Jaden Linder, Colin Peters, Eugenia Shireen, Riley Vapelius. Try not to butcher any of these names too, Ben. 7th grade class was Adrienne Randall, Liam Cavanaugh, Amani Coughlin, Mary Doherty Stoll, Hugh Farrell, Kelsey Ross, and Max Wortman. And for the 6th grade class, they inducted Gavin Anderson, Megan Doherty Stoll, Jude Donovan, Nathaniel Doyle, Rosalie Igle, Addison Lindsay Allen, Axel Ramos Rodriguez, Michael Sharon, Logan Travers, Yamilith Velasco Gill, and Max Weinspeimer. So congratulations to all those students. That's my report, Mayor.
Okay, I have just a few things. I don't think anybody mentioned, though, the actual donation from the Shillelaghs to the...
Was over
to the-
70.
was $12,500 that they donated to the recreation. We also had another successful senior lunch on last Wednesday. Just so you know, we're also having meetings periodically on the Seafood Festival. I attended one last week, and I believe we have 2 more coming up. And John Walsh and I yesterday afternoon attended a county tourism meeting, and the county, has many programs to enhance Monmouth County tourism. And one of the programs, and I don't remember the exact term, but it's an app where people can go on there and they can see the weather conditions in Belmar, of any town actually, but they can see the weather conditions, they can see what the beach is like, if the beach is open, if it's rough, whatever. And I'm sure we're going to be utilizing that this year. So I mean, they're really into promoting tourism, and as much as we can, we're going to work with them to bring as much as we can into Belmar. So that was pretty exciting. And lastly, I'm attended the planning board meeting. Just as a point of information, there were 2 ordinances that we passed at the last meeting. Both had to go to the planning board to determine whether or not they were consistent with the master plan. Both of them were. We recently got a letter from the planning board attorney, which to the council, which confirmed that. So they will be on for second reading at the next meeting. Okay, and that's my report. Next, budget hearing. Do we want to? Yeah, we should go down.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We're here tonight to hopefully have the public hearing and adopt our municipal budget for 2023. The budget the budget was introduced as required and was advertised as required. Public hearing is, again, a formality that the division requires. First, in general information, the borough's budget is comprised of 4 separate funds, and the breakdown of the funds is as follows. The current fund, which is all general operations of the borough, is budgeted at $22,824,095 for 2023. The water sewer utility is $4,034,814.90. Our beach utility is $6,220,595.25, and the parking utility is $137,500 for the year. The current fund is made up primarily of appropriations and revenues. Overall, the information is as follows. As required by statute, the 2023 proposed budget is under both the appropriations cap and the levy cap. The proposed tax rate for municipal purposes only is calculated to be 49.7 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. For a home assessed at the borough average of $585,000, this represents an annual increase of $120.66. Inflation is still an issue with year-over-year increase of 6.1% from March 2022 to March 2023. And obviously, we have to take this into consideration as we prepare the budget for the rest of the year. And our future planning includes the intention to maintain stability in our fund balance after December 31, 2024, when the 2023 appropriations will lapse. In brief, our expenditures have increased, obviously. Debt service increased from $2,034,025 to $2,452,196, 21% as a result of new debt issued in 2022. This was primarily to fund the purchase of property and the improvements thereto and renovations to beach pavilions due to DEP issues. Our fuel appropriation increased from $1,500,000 to $1,608,811, or 8%. Health insurance increased from $2,330,000 to $2,484,781. Our EMS appropriation for salary and wages increased from $155,000 to $185,000. And this represents the first full year of appropriation for the shared service agreement that was implemented in July of 2022. Every one of the participants in the shared service agreement is seeing an increase in their annual cost for the service. Our pension appropriation increase, the pension for normal employees, non-police and fire, increased by $49,246, and our police and fire appropriation for pension increased by $54,175. And we have also taken the liberty of increasing the appropriation reserve for uncollected taxes, which has been increased to $700,000, and this is prudent given the increase in the levy for the last several years. Current fund appropriations can be broken down into the following categories. Other expenses, $10,103,310,311 if we're rounding. Salary and wages, $7,458,821. Capital and debt service, $2,627,196. Shared services, $1,135,078. Reserve for uncollected taxes is $700,000. Our library, which is a standard, which is determined by a standard formula developed by the state, and has increased to $786,808. And we also have $12,882 in deferred charges. And the second component of our current fund budget is revenue. At this point, the borough proposes to apply $3 million from fund balance for the 2023 budget. In 2022, the borough applied $2,729,543. It's an increase of $270,457 enabled by the replacement of $4,701,000 from 2022 operations and 2021 lapsed appropriations. The borough projects regenerating an estimated $3 million to fund balance from its 2023 operations. And the borough is anticipating two new forms of revenue: interest on investments and dividends at $110,000 and parking utility surplus at $550,000. And this was accrued from several years of operations. The borough received a slight increase in state aid, $2,927, that is anticipated in our 2027 budget. Excuse me. Our current fund revenues can be broken down into the following categories. Amount to be raised by taxes, municipal and library, $9,564,185. Local revenues, $5,543,680. Fund balance or surplus, $3 million. Marina slip rentals, $1,550,000. Delinquent taxes, $285,291. State aid is a total of $448,517. Shared services, as previously identified in the expenditure component, is again $1,135,778. Grants have increased this year to $1,167,343, and our construction code is anticipated to bring in approximately $130,000. I guess primary importance to everyone here is the municipal tax rate, which for local purposes is 49.7 cents, which is a 2.1 cent or 4.33% increase from 2022's rate. The average residential assessment, again, is $585,000. The average municipal tax, this is municipal only, is $2,905, and the average total per residential property is $8,159. Our water, sewer utility, and our beach utility are what the state calls self-liquidating utilities. That is, their revenue has to match their expenditures in order to have no impact on the budget, on the property taxpayers of the borough in excess of paying the fees for the service. Other expenses is budgeted $2,555,760. Capital and debt is $881,105. Salary and wages, $597,950. And there are no deferred charges in the sewer appropriations. Revenues are primarily determined by billings, and we anticipate in billings $3,595,000 this year, and we're applying $439,815 in fund balance. Beach utility, again, appropriations and revenues. Appropriations can be broken down into the following: salary and wages, $3,597,234. Other expenses, $1,571,861, and capital and debt service, $1,051,500. And beach utility revenues are broken down: fund balance or surplus, $1,641,345.25. Beach badge fees or collections, $3,900,000. Other miscellaneous revenue is $279,250, and reserve for payment of debt is $400,000. And this comes from funds that have been accumulated by our reimbursements from FEMA for, as reimbursements for expenses that were incurred during recoveries from Sandy and the several other hurricanes that we've had since then, or superstorms. Our parking utility is obviously the smallest of our operations, and appropriations are broken down as salary and wages at $65,000, other expenses at $22,500, and capital and debt service at $50,000. And all of our parking utility obviously is generated by fees that we charge on parking, and we anticipate again $137,500. So this is a quick summary of all of the components of the borough operation and how they're funded. So I'll be happy to with mayor and council's consent, answer any questions if anyone has any questions.
I have a quick question. Capital improvements, sort of like roads, sewer lines, like,
Yes.
where does that all fit in something like that?
That would be in capital and debt service. So that's broken down in all of the funds except for, including parking. Capital and debt includes that figure, that 881,000 includes a capital, what we call capital outlay, which is an account that we develop over the years. Funds are appropriated to it and then used as necessary either for down payments or for the payment in full of an improvement. We do the same in the current fund. And you'll see capital and debt services, $2,627,000. And of that, we do have a component which we call down payments on debt, which allows us to put down the required 5% down payment that the state mandates that we do for all of our improvements. So all of those, the capital funds are broken up into each one of the categories in which they are generally associated.
From my notes, there is.
Sorry, if anyone from the public is going to speak, please come to the microphone, state your name and address.
I should know that, I'm sorry. John Savior, 516 11th Ave. The beach utility budget is lumped together. There's no disclosure, there's a $300,000 increase in beach fees. I see the other expenses. Is that what that is? What is the other? Please.
Other expenses or other, I'm sorry, the revenue?
Like when you go through, I know I went back, this is my first time, sorry. There's a $300,000 increase in beach fees. Are the daily badges going to go up? Where's the beach fees? What is that $300,000? I'm assuming is that the other?
That's, the beach fees are separate from the other miscellaneous revenue. The beach fees are basically determined by what we sold in the prior year, taking into consideration that we had a very dry year. So we don't anticipate to the maximum that we've collected. And what we do is we try and balance it out so that it becomes somewhat of a level operation going from year to year. But we were able to increase the amount of revenue that we anticipate from the sale of beach badges.
Thank you so much. And are the beach badges going up or is anything like that staying the same?
There's no, at this point, there is no expectation that they will need to go up this year.
Or parking at all?
Sorry.
Or parking, I'm sorry, would parking fees go up as well?
Parking fees, I believe, are consistent with what they were last year. I know that they're at, for all zones, $2 an hour. I'm not sure that was all zones last year. I think there was a slight discrepancy in that. But this year, they were all at $2 an hour.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hi, Bobby Henniger, 512 9th Avenue. I have a question about the loss of revenue from the rental at Taylor Pavilion, and I was wondering if that is reflected in this current budget.
I'm sorry, can you just...
My question is about the loss of...
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. My question is about the loss of, it sounds like roughly $20,000 in the lease of the part of the Taylor Pavilion that did not have any interest in being rented by another restaurant. So is that reflected in this budget already, or is that
Yes.
something that would have to be?
No, it's reflected in the budget.
Okay. So, and when you're saying that the increase in the tax rate has increased by 4.3% or something,
Yes.
that is the total damage from not being able to rent that facility?
No, the tax rate is separate from the tax rate is generated by basically the current operations. So in the current fund, we are raising, sorry, just give me a minute. $9,564,185 in funds from taxes.
Mhm.
And that goes to fund the general operations of the borough, not beach and not water and sewer.
So is that normally part of beach utility?
No, it's not.
So I'm confused, what is it part of then? It's part of the general fund.
What is what part of, I'm sorry.
The loss in revenue from renting the facility at Taylor Pavilion.
That's in the beach utility, and that would be part of our anticipated revenue. If we expected revenue from it, it would be included in the revenue that we're expecting from the beach utility, from the operations at the beach.
From the fund balance?
No,
Or
from
which?
other miscellaneous revenue.
Okay, and as you said, that's already
Right.
accounted for in there. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Thank you.
That, and I would just like to introduce our auditor, John Swisher. Everybody's probably wondering who's that gentleman sitting there.
No fault, you like that.
Okay, so I guess the
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
motion, second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then can I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-103, which is a resolution adopting the 2023 budget?
Motion?
Second.
Okay, Councilman Brennan?
Yes?
Councilman McKinney?
Yes.
Mayor Buckafusco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondenaro?
Yes.
Councilman Levitt?
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thank you, thank you.
I would just like to say thank you to Lorraine for all of her hard work in this budget. You know, with prices as high as they are right now for everything, she worked very hard to make sure that our budget was as conservative as it could be so that we're protecting Belmar. So I appreciate it, Lorraine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is public session. If anyone would like to speak about a resolution on the agenda, please step forward, state your name and address. Seeing none, can I have a motion to close the public session?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to approve the resolutions as listed on the consent agenda?
Motion.
Okay, Councilman Brennan?
Yes?
Councilman McKinney?
Yes.
Mayor Buckafusco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondenaro?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
We have no ordinances, so next is public session. This is open to the public. For any comments, please step forward, state your name and address.
Vincent John Sabia, 516 11th Avenue. Actually, Councilman Brennan, the Porch Fest, I think I saw online you can get shirts, Belmar shirts for Porch Fest, the
Yes,
proceeds
thank you for
go
reminding me,
to
John.
BAC.
Yes, you got to do everything through social media. Johnny Comfort's a Facebook guy, but if you go to the Belmar Porch Fest Facebook group, there's an ad. The orders for the shirts have to be in by tomorrow night.
Oh,
Wait, by Thursday night, sorry, I'm a day ahead of myself. All the money raised for the shirts is going to be donated to the Belmar Art Center for the piano and the Plaza project. That was Johnny Comfort's idea. He came to me and said, can we do this? And really, it's a nice design. He had a little contest on social media, and he picked the winner, and I helped pick the winner too. But yeah, and they're nice shirts. There's 5 different colors. You know, it's just order your size. I'm ordering mine after the meeting.
There you go. I just want to confirm that because it looked really great. I wanted to help support the BAC program, the arts there as well. And really quick, Councilman Kane, can I tell him about the skate park real quick?
Go for it.
All right, so very excited. With Mayor, Borough Administrator, Council, we were able to get the secured place at Dempsey Park. So we're so excited that we're gonna move it back a little bit, which is good. We're gonna help our friends out at the Shillelagh get some nice quality parking for the people that come there. But we're gonna pull it back a little towards Recycling Center, so we're excited about that. And we are talking to get our design. The plans are gonna go out. We're gonna have a design. We've already talked with Bobby from Pro Skateboard Shop and the committee. We're really gonna make a really great park designed by skaters, for skaters from the community. And we're moving forward on really moving forward for a place for our kids and our families and people to be mentally well and have a great time. So thank you. Just want to say thank you for that. And Councilwoman McKenney is really pioneering this movement. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you,
It's
Council.
actually been really great that things are moving along with the skate park. I know everybody who skates is still frustrated that there's nothing there yet, but it's gonna be great. We're really, really excited about the potential, and we're already working on laying the groundwork for fundraisers and things, so stay tuned.
Tom Volker, 527 8th Avenue, Belmar. I have a couple questions. Number one, you feel we're ready for the pop-up car rallies? A couple weeks ago, it got pretty loud over on 8th Avenue. I don't know what was done or what was done, did other towns help out? Can you tell us anything about that?
We were very fortunate because the police department became aware of that ahead of it happening.
Great.
So there were a number of local and law enforcement agencies basically on call. We had the surrounding towns. We had, I believe, county law enforcement. We had state police. So everybody was pretty much on call because we knew that it was coming.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we were prepared for the worst, but we hoped for the best. And I think it worked out very well. I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, you're exactly right, Mayor. The police department was well aware of this and monitored for at least a week. Mm-hmm. And then when it was confirmed it was happening, all the surrounding municipalities were all aware of it and participated, as the mayor said, the sheriff's office, state police, and everyone. And there was tremendous police presence throughout the entire event. And I don't think there were any issues outside of basic traffic stops.
That was it. It was motor vehicle violation.
Connected with that, when you write a ticket for a violation, are you able to insist that they come into court to inconvenience them?
Yes. Their court appearances are required.
Okay. Thank you. The senior center, have they released the funds yet for the work that has to be done at the senior center?
With the Belmar Housing Authority?
Yeah.
Not yet. Unfortunately, that likely won't happen until the fall or winter.
Well, I'm curious. I don't want our seniors to get bonked on the head.
So the project will start. The project for the scaffolding will start. They do have the money up front to put up the scaffolding, the mesh. So just that the safety will at least, will be there. As far as the rebuilding, that's going to take a little bit more time. But that scaffolding and mesh will be there soon. I know they're working on that currently.
Yeah, can somebody light a fire under them maybe, or, does Vin Gopal have anything to do with that? A little extra pressure?
I don't think so, but if he does, I'll definitely ask him.
Thank you. Gotta watch out for my head here. And then the bathrooms, I haven't heard anything more about the bathrooms. What's happening?
Well, if you rode up along the beach, you will notice that 3 of the bathrooms have been installed. And we're expecting
great.
2 new ones coming mid-May. And we are still cooperating with DEP to, have them issue us a certificate, which is what this process has been about. So, in fact, I'm sending a letter tomorrow to just, tell them we're here, we're ready to, cooperate with them, and we hope that we'll hear from them soon.
Well, I'm glad you got the regular bathrooms up there. That's alternative was not pretty.
No.
My wife and I have taken advantage of I keep wanting to say chai tea, which is a drink, But we do drink, but not touchy. At any rate, we got, my wife asked me to come along, so, I willingly went along, and I feel that it's balance. It's meant to help balance, and I'm at the point where balance is necessary. So I'm enjoying the workout, and it was a big turnout. You probably know that. So, thank you.
I'm ready to join you too.
There's a couple guys there, we're trying to talk sports. The speed signs, making any headway on getting that? Do we plan to get them? I heard it 6 months ago.
I did get a few. I don't know.
These are the ones on the pole that.
Yeah, I actually saw one on 5th Avenue, and then I think they're being moved. Am I correct? They're not stationary at this point.
I don't mean the big.
No, this is like a little
that goes
sign.
on top of the pole.
I thought somebody had purchased one, like a homeowner, and just put it up on a post. But no, it's I don't know if we had. I don't even remember how many we had.
Correct. We had 3 of those portable signs, and they go out, and there's a rotation schedule that's followed, unless we have something like the pop-up car show, where we have to move them to that location. There's a schedule that follows.
Okay.
So they're out, they're here for a week, they're out. So there's 3 of them that we move them about. And then they're brought in, they have to be charged, and then they're placed back out again.
I thought they sort of take the charge from the sun, the ones I'm talking about.
Not these particular ones that we have. We are looking to get in the solar chargers.
Okay. Yeah, the Spring Lake's got one that says I'm awesome. I kind of drive down there a lot. My wife won't say that. And then, okay, that's about it for me, but thank you, I appreciate your hard work.
Anytime. Thank you. Anyone else? Well, I'm pointing to Angela.
Thank you. Angela Pfeiffer, 5th Avenue, Belmar. The budget numbers are still going through my head, so lots of numbers. Question, as I remember, I think the debt service was over $2 million. What is our total debt?
That's a good question. I have to look at the.
Yeah, I thought of it too late, sorry.
It would be on the annual debt statement.
Yeah, we'll get that for you.
I'm just thinking it must be a pretty big number if our annual service is $2 million.
If you go, I can probably find it on the latest debt statement. But and again, you have to consider that the debt that really affects the taxes is just the debt for the municipality. In other words, anything that the beach fund borrows is paid by the beach fund. Anything that the water utility borrows is paid by the water utility.
So the $2 million was a combined number? No.
Yeah, that was just for the general fund.
Yeah. So, and I wish I would have thought it sooner, I'm sorry. Is there any thought to paying down our debt so that maybe our grandkids aren't still paying for this when they inherit our houses?
Well, you know what I think happened, at least in the past year, you heard the CFO say that the increase was due to the purchase of property and some repairs or some work that would be done on the pavilion. Well, the purchase of the property was the 12th Avenue property. That is slated to be the new EMS property. So that was the one increase in our debt. The other one was the prior administration had the thought that we may have to modify the Taylor Pavilion in order to put in permanent bathrooms. So they bonded money for that. So, you know, in terms of what made it go up, those were the two biggest things that would make it go up.
Are we still paying stuff off from Sandy?
I have no idea. I don't think so, but
Okay.
I just...
All right, thank you. Second question, I'm hearing all this stuff about these Verizon poles. Any update on that? How bad is this, or how good is this, or?
Well, there is an update. We met last week via Zoom, obviously, with representatives from Legislative District 30, which is what we're in, and they, you know, were interested in what we're experiencing, and actually, you know, they were aware of it in terms of what's happening in Belmar, and they had heard of it in other areas too, where this is happening. It just so happened that the very next day, we already had a meeting scheduled with some people from Verizon. And that was, Mr. Kane reached out to the governor's office. We got a contact there who put us in contact with some people from Verizon. And that's how that meeting came about. And we had someone from the LD30 group also came to that meeting and sat in on it. We did our best to set out concerns of the community and, you know, in terms of what we need, what we don't need, where we want the poles, where we don't want the poles. But the bottom line is there really was no movement on their part as far as that goes. I don't know if you want to add anything, Kevin.
We've been working this for a while, and we tried to just start the conversation by saying to Verizon, we're getting inquiries about expanding 4G, expanding 5G. We really want to just know what you're trying to accomplish, and is this the most efficient way? You know, are there, to use their terms, is there a way to use more macro sites, which is a bigger presence, or do you have to go with the micro sites, which are the 5G poles, you know, more of them, you know, with lesser frequencies? So we were trying to get them to just say, you know, this is what we're trying to accomplish, and we believe this is the most efficient way. And we really didn't make any headway with that. The problem with this situation, they noted to us this conversation started in 2019, and it wound up going to the courts. And the court, the judge ruled, the settlement order, that they could put 20 poles along the east side of Ocean Avenue at the intersection of every avenue. They have a site plan for that. So we're not finished yet, but the conversation, you know, I have to be honest with you, we're not getting tremendous traction, but we're not finished yet. Like the mayor mentioned, we're in contact with the governor's office. We're in contact with the Monmouth County Commissioners. Director Arnone is very interested in this situation. Because it's not just Belmar, it's up and down the coast, and it may affect tourism. And so we're trying everything we possibly can. They were polite, but not real receptive about opening this court order back up. And so we're still working. I don't know. That's kind of where we're at today.
And we don't really have a time span or, you know, a schedule as to when they will even begin doing this. So, I mean, there is still time. You know, it's not like they're coming next week to install the first pole. And they obviously will have to give us notice before they do that, because, you know, our inspectors will have to go out there, and there's a lot of electrical work that needs to be done, digging and so on and so forth. So I think we still have some time to, you know, for us to work our contacts or whoever we can, you know, get on board to.
But it sounds like this agreement to some extent, has our hands tied as to how much wiggle room they will give us? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Absolutely. Our attorney can probably put it in legal terms for us, but yeah, we'll talk about the settlement.
Right. In September 2022, the borough and Verizon entered into a settlement agreement that was signed by Judge Shipp, District Court Judge. So that's, I don't know, an 8 or 9 page document outlining the settlement. So for the court's purposes, the settlement agreement and the matter is closed. It's done. The chance of reopening the settlement agreement signed by the parties and approved by the judge is remote. So, yeah, it binds our hands to a great degree.
Okay.
It's a settlement agreement. When we were talking to Verizon, we addressed that. We know there's a settlement agreement. Nonetheless, we were asking them if they could accommodate us in any way. We had certain asks that we were looking at repositioning the poles and that kind of thing. But from their perspective, they were very polite and they said no. But their reasoning is they've been doing this for 3 years. They're at the point where they want to build poles because they've done this. They've been to court. They've had their engineers, borough's engineers, look at it. So they're done. We're not, but that's their position. So we did, even though they weren't very receptive, we did send another letter to Verizon asking them to be receptive. And that's where we are at. We haven't received their response, but, you know, when we do, we'll let you know.
Okay. Assuming they're not receptive and this is a done deal, Mr. Kane, you mentioned 2019. I kind of remember being at a meeting in 2019 and they showed us these poles. Jerry, you might have been at the meeting too. They look like they weren't going to be in addition. They were going to be our lamp posts, if I'm not mistaken, but taller. They were going to be part of the lamp post. I don't remember it being a separate pole.
If you go on the borough's website under where we have the new mayor and council minutes, we did post the little brochure that they put out and that they had at the meeting that night. It was in actually 2020, I believe. That's up there, and so is the consent agreement, if you want to take a look at it. But no, I don't remember them being, all I remember, to be perfectly honest with you, was that the big emphasis from the dais here was we want cameras on those poles. That's the thing that, you know, struck me. We want cameras and they're going to pay for it. Well, we're not getting cameras and they're not paying for it.
Yeah.
But I think from day one, what was the date of that?
August 18th, 2020 is when they did the presentation here.
And there wasn't, Councilman Brennan, do you remember, maybe I dreamt this? I could have sworn the poles that they were going to use were replacing our light poles, so then...
No, they weren't going to replace
what
them.
was?
There were additional poles, and one of the things we didn't want was we made it clear we don't want those poles on the boardwalk. And they were fine with that. They put them down at street level. I think the biggest issue is they're 35 feet tall, and you really can't miss them. I mean, look, I can tell you this, I was telling these guys, I was in New Orleans this past weekend, I was in Louis Armstrong Park, beautiful park right there in the French Quarter. They have 35-foot light poles, wrought iron, beautifully designed. They would not be a problem. That's not what they're offering us. These are pretty generic, really, I mean, maybe they're meant to blend in, but with 35 feet, how are you going to do that? They're letting us tell them what color we want. We don't want street lights on them. We don't want cameras on them. But we're still asking them, come on, can't you work with us here? And the option is move them to the west side of Ocean Avenue, and that's a whole other can of worms. So, I mean, I really don't know what we're gonna be able to do.
So has the location, is it going to be east or west?
No, it's right now, it's east side.
Right now it's the east side. On
That's the
boardwalk
agreement.
or
On the street level.
on the street level, up 35 feet?
Yeah.
And remember, they also have, as part of that agreement, they also can extend the pole up a little higher if another vendor wants to come and like T-Mobile, they have the right to have, you know, a pole. But since Verizon, these poles are designed to go up another 3 or 4 feet, they can then make them higher and let T-Mobile go on that side.
So I'm pretty sure, isn't the height requirement for residential max 35 feet in Belmar for houses? Right? I think we can't go, right? Our single-family homes, I don't think can be higher than 35 feet.
Council can speak to this, but really, what they need, they get.
Yeah, I mean, they still have to apply for, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Our zoning does not apply to wireless communication towers, poles, things of that nature.
And Bill, I mean, I don't want to go on and on, but Belmar just got lucky that we were the town that was selected. I mean, Spring Lake, Avalon.
They have them up there, I saw that they were up in Deal, along Ocean Avenue.
They're in Asbury.
Yeah, and they're tall, and they're gray, and they're,
Yeah, the
not
technology,
much to look at.
the technology is designed to service areas that are, heavily, you know, populated. So, you know, we fit that bill in the summer. So, you know, we could have 50,000 people on the beach.
In the summer?
In the summer.
But-
And that affects not only the people on the beach, but it also affects people in town. In other words, I'll say the airwaves, you know, whatever it is, the bandwidth, it can get backed up so that you could be on Main Street and, you know, have trouble connecting because there's so much activity, you know, all around town. So their motivation is we need to provide our customers with, you know, service. And the way we're going to do this is by, you know, the latest technology, which is 5G, which is, you know, actually it's fantastic if you have a pole and you're sitting here, you know, you could probably download a movie in like a minute, you know, and you can do all these wonderful things because it's like a 100-lane highway, you know, as opposed to a 20-lane highway. But it, you know, so that's the reason behind it, is that they need to bring more bandwidth to that area, to the beach. And that's the reason why they do it. They do it in a lot of populated areas, like in a city that's heavily populated, you know, they'll put poles all over so that people can access, you know, without getting stuck.
I mean, aesthetically, it's just a little bit different than putting it ocean front, but I appreciate, listen, I'm sure you're doing everything you can. I just, you know, you hear all these different rumors going back and forth, and I said, let me just come and find out where we're at, just so that we, thank you.
Ms. Piper, I agree with you. I am not in favor of the placement of these poles. I haven't given up hope. I believe personally that Verizon needs to hear from the community. They need to hear from the Belmar residents. So please speak up. Thank you.
How do we do that?
Invite him here.
Well, I mean, I'll go out on a limb here. If I wasn't sitting up here, I'd be down there with you guys, and I would have already had the change.org petition up with people going around, walk cards, you know, having people drop them off at everyone's door, saying, you know, stop the Verizon poles. Now, you know, that's the only way you can do it, because they need to know that right now they don't have any indication that the people of Belmar are against this, unless they look at our meetings, you know, and that's it. So. Okay.
Hi everyone, Caitlin Donovan, 513 8th Ave. Funny you say that. I read the settlement online. It's pretty cut and dry, but I did make a change.org petition. So I don't know if it'll help, but I think it's worth trying. So if anyone wants to see me, I have a QR code. You can scan it. We can get something going. Maybe it'll work.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Paige White, 1330 H Street. So who would we contact at Verizon to tell them, how would we contact them, or what department, where would we go to say, we don't want this?
That's an excellent question, because I've been looking through Verizon. You know, it's very hard because they're worse than the federal government in terms of trying to figure out who does what. And plus, they have a lot of changes. So, you know, you might read something and you might say, you know, Jerry Coca-Fusco is in charge of wireless, and then go on another page and it says, oh no, you know, this person is in charge of wireless. I don't have a good answer for you for that. I mean, I would just, you know, I don't know. You know, I really don't know who you would do that. I mean, obviously you could write to the CEO, but I don't know that that's that's a.
To go to their government relations person. Okay.
Try to find.
That government relations person.
Right. I mean, I think the other thing too is if enough signatures come via the petition, you know, obviously that petition could be presented here. Not that we're going to do anything with it, but then we can forward that on to Verizon and say, you know, we have a petition with X number of signatures on it. You know, this is the start of, you know, what people don't want to see in town.
Right. I think that the fact that it's 20 of them, one at every block, is what's everybody. You know, it's like how obscene is. I mean, why do you need one at every block? It seems. New York City is one on every corner. They're a lot more populated than we are.
My understanding, that's the way the technology works. Like if they don't, because we were talking about different kinds of technology of a wider kind of band, Verizon is locked in on 5G. And 5G is what's called small device. It doesn't spread very far, so you need a lot of these small devices. That's what when you drive up. What I saw in Deal was a pole pretty much about every block. You know, pretty much what they want to do here.
Thank you.
And again, about the petition, have you written the petition yet, or you?
Yes.
Okay, so where will we find that?
I have a QR code, you can come scan it, or I can send it out to whoever.
Belmar?
Yes, or Belmar.com.
John Walsh?
It's on the Facebook. No?
No, not us.
Not us.
Okay.
Sorry.
You can just go on change.org, right? And put in a query and say.
We can put a link to it on the Belmar local Facebook page,
because there's tons of people who are not here, I know, because I've been talking to and trying to get everybody out here.
Yes. And I'll stay afterwards so we can talk. Right on.
Just to expand on that a little bit. Again, I'm Bobby Henniger, 512 9th Avenue. I do think that if we have some sort of pushback on the design of these things that we're being forced to accept, I don't think that we should be mandated to accept 35-foot poles on every block. If there are utility poles on the west side of Ocean Avenue that are about 35 feet tall, if there is a way that we can suggest that they give us a wood-colored brown you know, device that goes on the top of those that are just minimally invasive and go on something that's already there. I would just think that maybe we can do something like that and just insist on a design change.
You know, I always say great minds think alike. We actually had that discussion with them. We came up with a number of different scenarios about where alternative antennas could be placed. You know, and Mr. King.
Yeah, to your point, the telephone poles stop about 50 feet from the intersection of Ocean Avenue at the end of every block. And that was one of the first things we said. You know, is there a way instead of putting 20 poles along the east side of Ocean Avenue, can you just put them on existing telephone poles? It's 50 feet, so you're talking maybe another, you know, 20-foot of road, maybe another 70, 75 feet. And they politely said no. But again, it's our initial conversation, like I said earlier, is we just wanted to try to find out what they were trying to accomplish for all of Belmar, for all their technology, and is this the most efficient way to do it? You know, and we haven't cracked that conversation yet to get into that conversation. We're still working it. But I think, Mayor, to your point, between the petition, the signatures from the residents, and we continue to work our relationships with our legislators, whether it be county, state, or federal legislators. I think the combination of the two will send a message to Verizon that we're not real happy.
How long do you think we have to do this?
If we can do it tomorrow, it'd be good.
No, I mean, what do you,
What's happening now is we've met with our engineers and we've met with the company that contracted to design and manufacture the poles and get them in production and install them. So they're reaching out to us for a couple, like if we wanted security cameras, and so they're still in the design mode, so they haven't started manufacturing them yet. So they want to move pretty quick. We're under the gun. We got to work pretty fast.
I mean, I think perhaps we can get them to say, we don't want this done during the summer, just because of the crowds. Again, that would be something we would just have to, state to them, and maybe they would agree to that. But I think somewhere, I don't know if it was in the consent judgment that there was a reference to trying to do it, outside of the summer months. But I can't guarantee that that's what they'll do. But fortunately, in our conversation, they didn't really give us a time schedule yet. They didn't say we want this done by a certain date. So I'm hoping that we still have ample time to reach out and do some of these other things that we want to do.
thank you.
You never know.
Thank you.
Randy?
Randy Brazell, 10111. With all due respect, I don't really care about the crowds in the summertime. We live here. So, I'm really glad that we're all promoting tourism. I'm really glad that we're promoting tourism. I could care less if nobody comes to the beach every year.
So, I'm really glad that we have a tourism commission, that's great, but, think about it. Everybody who lives in this town has to walk down an avenue at some point to walk to the beach, or to walk along the boardwalk, even if we're not going to the beach. I'm actually not a beach lover, I don't really care. But why can't they put the poles in the middle of the streets? This way, when you're walking down the streets, when you're driving down the streets, this is not the first impression that you have of Belmar. It's horrible. So, I understand that this administration didn't do this. I understand that this might have happened in any administration. I get it. But at the end of every block, that's insane. It should move it to the middle of the block. This way, as you're walking down, you don't see it.
Well, this is the message that Verizon needs to receive. We're all in agreement with it.
So you need to facilitate us getting the messages. Why don't you on your page on Belmar.com put all the contacts that everybody needs to reach, all of the government officials, and we can all just follow a template.
All the government officials are out there already. I mean, if you go on any, put in who's my legislator, you'll find out who your congressman is.
But you are our.
But they need to hear from the public.
You are our mayor. Why don't you put something on our page on Belmar.com and tell us what to do? Lead us.
I do think though that the public needs to take some independent action in terms of
to fix what this administration didn't do? I don't understand. Not this administration,
I don't know.
The governing body.
I mean, again, I go back to the FCC rules. If you, and I can have the complaint actually put up on the website.
You don't need to put the complaint. Put the addresses of the people that we need to reach. That's all. I'm pretty capable of finding, but maybe some people are not. That's all I'm asking. I don't know why you can't do that.
We don't know. I would say
I would say Verizon. Who did you speak to at Verizon?
I would say the CEO.
Well, you had a meeting with somebody. Who was that somebody, and what's that person's email address? We'll reach them. You can't tell us that?
Well, we'll look into who it is. I don't know that they're the best people.
We will get a Verizon contact for you.
That'll be great. Appreciate it.
John Hutchinson, 519 6th Avenue. One of the things that I've noticed lately is the utility poles have rat's nests of wires and tangled and the ugliest looking things you ever saw on the utility poles that have Verizon wireless, or not what Verizon wireless, but Verizon stuff and pop and stuff. Can't we, is there any leverage that we can use? Look, you clean up this stuff or we're going to come out with wire cutters and start cleaning this stuff up. Because it's so ugly, it's a crime when you look up and you see something that looks like, and I know pejorative here, but looks like a third world country.
I agree, and I don't have an answer for you, so. Who was in the back? Where?
Claire Hayner, 18th and B. In the spirit of safety to our residents, is there any update on possibly getting the curb cutouts at Snyder and any other block that doesn't have curb cutouts?
We'll have to look into that. I don't know.
Actually, Billy Russell and I took a ride out there last week, and we're working on that. So it's a bigger plan because we have to identify everybody because we can't just do that one corner, that one intersection. So we're going to take a look at all of them and see what we can do. Well, like I said, last couple meetings, most of it happens with road work being done. So for this case, we have to figure it out. I mean, the one you're talking about, I mean, it's not a lot of concrete, but possibly if there's a company in there doing some road work, doing some concrete work, yeah, maybe they could slide over and take care of a couple areas. We're working on that. I was out there with Billy last week.
Okay. When they were doing Lake Como, I tried to convince them that Lake Como ended at Snyder, but they weren't providing. We tried. Listening to all the Verizon polls and this and that, it kind of reminds me of the skate park when we listen to everybody week after week after week, and we have progress with the skate park, so keep your fingers crossed on Verizon. Last thing, the newsletter, is that coming back?
I think with everything that's been going on, that kind of got pushed back on the back burner.
Okay.
I don't know. That's the answer.
It was helpful. I mean, you know, it was a catch-up of different things. And, you know, and last but not least, Mayor, maybe like if you gave an update as to the polls with, you know, the meetings and everything, maybe that could be part of your, you know, summary before we get to the public session, to give people something to think about too, that you have been making progress on it versus everybody waiting to come up to the mic.
Right. Yeah, I have been trying to do that in the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as if we have, you know, other meetings and whatnot, we'll definitely share it with the council and the public.
Okay, thank you.
Linda?
Good evening, Linda Sharkus, 4th Avenue. After the 5G polls, you might not consider this significant, but we're approaching May, and we've had no word about community policing. Is there an update? A few months ago, the Chief Scott had mentioned that we were moving forward with it, but it's a little late to be, you know, we need to get something out there and people aligned for the program.
I don't have an answer. I don't know if
So,
we have any.
I actually spoke to the chief about this today, and she said that the officers will be contacting their zones very, very shortly with that.
Okay, all right.
So you'll be hearing from us very,
Very shortly. Is that 1 week, 2 week, or middle of next month?
That I'm not sure about.
All right.
That I'm not sure, but very, very, very shortly.
Thank you.
Wow.
Debbie Preston, 904 Ocean Avenue. I'm just wondering, and this is probably for legal, should we have not gotten some kind of letter living on that street saying that Verizon was going to put towers that would be right across from our homes? I'm wondering why. I got something about the lockers and the bathrooms, but I got nothing about a tower going across from my house. So I'm just wondering, is that a legality type of thing that, you know, we should have been informed if we're going to be right across the street from these towers?
I think if they were going in front of the, one of the boards, planning board with the site plan or something of that nature, you would have gotten notice, but since it was resolved in the court, then you didn't. So there's no requirement once things go.
This was before court, though. If they were
Yeah.
talking about this, I have been the property owner since 2005.
Yeah, my understanding is it never went in front of a planning board for a site plan, so no notice was provided because the town I wasn't involved, so I'm just going by what I understand. The town and Verizon were discussing different aspects of the project, and I think Verizon decided that the town wasn't moving fast enough, so they filed the lawsuit. So, which they can do, because the law says if we prevent the implementation of this technology, that they can go to court, and that's what they did. So yeah, that's probably why you didn't get notice.
And that they don't require to go in front of the planning board when they're making a major thing like that? I mean, I have to go if
Right.
you want put a pole, anything on my property, I have to go first.
Right, different rules for the communications.
There's no
We don't
rules
really
on this.
have much we can do even when they go in front of the planning board. We can look at things to make sure that things are safe, but other than that, we don't have a vote, or they don't have to ask our permission. So we can look at things like safety, and on the larger towers, towns would, and make sure things, weren't going to, fall on anybody, things like that. But once those safety issues were taken care of, then pretty much the inquiry was
I mean,
over.
very encouraged that environmental is going to take a look at this now, correct?
My understanding, the Environmental Commission did discuss this at their meeting last week. There were a lot of concerns about light pollution because there were supposed to be street lights attached to these poles. So now we're not asking, that was the borough's ask for the lights on the poles. I mean, so now we're not asking that anymore. I can tell you, being part of the discussions the last year, a couple of years since this has been going on, one of our biggest concerns was Verizon was really adamant about not sharing the poles with any other providers. That was one of their first things that they were like, no, we're not going to do that. And at least in this settlement agreement, they agreed to let other telecoms, at least one, use the poles, because theoretically, any provider, any telecom company, AT&T or any of those others, can come in and say, we want to put up 5G, and we're going to put our pole right next to Verizon's pole, and really, there's not much we can do, That's been my understanding of the situation since I sat on the zoning board.
I mean, look at the Mayfair. I mean, the Mayfair, you can't fit another tower on there.
But that's not what they don't want. That's not how 5G works.
No, I know.
They
I'm
want
just
the
saying,
poles down on the street,
you
right
have
over
one
where people
provider
are.
and another provider goes up and puts another one of those god-awful things
Exactly.
on there.
Right. That's
And-
why that whole hotel is covered with antennas.
Yeah, I know.
But that's
And-
private property, and they can take the rent that they want. We can't stop them.
And my other, suggestion, if you're going to move the poles at all, I would think possibly along downtown on Main Street would be a better option, since they would then be on a main street that's not down by the
That would
ocean.
be our choice too, but
Well, if they're gonna, people are suggesting they get moved from one side to the other. If you're gonna move them at all, move them to town, along town.
I hear
That's just my suggestion. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mark Presto, 13th Avenue. It sounds like everybody wants to do something, we want to move things. But it also sounds like the time frame might be very tight. So I'm trying to think of what's the most efficient way, who do we go after? My understanding is that the FCC sort of regulates this, and it supersedes any other government authority. So it sounds it's more like on a federal level that we need to deal with it. So I would just suggest that we kind of focus, everybody who's going to be sending letters out, to send it to your federal congressman to see what they may be able to do. That's just my thought. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Congressman.
Kathy Snyder, 2000 Ocean Ave. After I spoke at the last meeting, I started talking with neighbors and friends that I've met here, and I was really surprised at how many residents are not aware of this project at all. And I'm sure if they were, this room would be totally packed. I'd like to suggest that you hold a special meeting just for that, for the residents, and inform them what's going on. And perhaps at that time, if you had the contact information, you know, a fact sheet, you know, I know if it's uncomfortable for you to take a position, you know, where you're sitting, but at least if you had that information for everybody to share, it would be a lot easier. I've asked everybody I've spoken to speak to the representatives in our territory. I gave them the links to everybody in our district, but like I said, I'm only here, I don't know, 14, 16 months, so I'm a little still new and working at it. I'm also wondering if the meetings that you have with Verizon, if it's an option to be open to the public. There's so many other, you know, options out there. They bring in these cell towers for concerts, temporary. If we're only doing it for the summer, why can't they just roll in one of these temporary towers for 2 months? You know, like, I'm not sure all the options have been explored, and, you know, perhaps we can think outside the box, and together as a community, maybe we can stop 20 poles on Ocean Ave. Living on Ocean Avenue, I do think I have the right, whether there's a pole in front of my house. Today I was led to believe that it did start at the zoning board, and notices weren't given to the residents. And, you know, a neighbor can't do something without notifying me. So if they're gonna put a pole on west side or east side, you know, 40 feet from me, I should have the right to object whether it's a light or a pole. I have safety concerns, the weather, that pole, you know, coming into my home in a storm. I know you're all very professional and you have a lot of knowledge and background, but you have a whole town behind you. And I think together, perhaps we really can fight this. Thank you.
Good evening, Sharon Mahoney, 800 Main Street. I'm not going to talk about Verizon. Okay, a couple things. I noticed that by the park, the street that, well, on 8th Avenue, so, sorry, Silver Lake Park, there's no crosswalk on that street that comes up from the lake, from, you know, around the lake there. None at all. Looks like none was ever there at all.
What street?
So if you're driving down, if you're going down 8th Avenue, on the park side, I think it's C.
There's two crosswalks.
There's 2 crosswalks.
No. On the street that comes up along the lake, there's no crosswalk.
You're talking about North Lake Drive?
Yeah, I guess that would be, yeah, on this side. So driving east on Ocean Avenue, I'm sorry, east on 8th, I know the crosswalks are here, but there's no crosswalk going this way across that street that meets 8th Avenue.
Across C Street?
Correct.
At the end of C Street?
Correct. None at all. Looks like there wasn't one there, so are there plans to add one? I mean, kids walk, you know, on that street.
That would be up to the police department.
To add a crosswalk?
They have to do my understanding is they have to do a traffic study. You know,
Okay.
it's no big deal, but you can't just get out there with a campaign.
Understood.
You know,
So,
check it out.
so I'm suggesting, so who does that go to? Like to?
You're talking about 8th Avenue and C Street?
Yeah, right.
Yes.
This is-
So I'm sorry,
This is
not
fast.
C Street. It's on the north and south. Yeah, South Lake Drive.
I know you're.
I live on C Street.
No, it's not. C Street comes this way and dead ends at 8th Avenue. It's not that one. It's the one that comes up around the lake. Yeah. There's no crosswalk there.
I mean, somebody who, we'd have to look at it to see.
Yeah.
if there was
Yeah.
something-
Somebody write that down and look
I'm
into
trying
that.
to see it.
Yeah.
Around there
We'll
all
take a
the
look
time.
at it.
All right.
It could be whoever did it originally had a safety issue in mind, you know, and, because I know there are spots where there are no crosswalks.
But that's right by the
Really
park.
got people
So.
wanting to cross at that spot.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
we'll take a look at it.
Okay, I mentioned the last time I was up here, it was last meeting before, about, or I had a couple questions about the safety ring and signs at Silver Lake about not feeding wildlife. Is there any progress on that?
I saw the one sign, there's one right on, well.
It's not by the dock.
It is.
It should be by the dock. That's where
Right.
people stand and illegally, I shouldn't say illegally, but feed the wildlife, we don't, so.
Yeah, we're looking at a number of signage issues, so we'll just
Mhm.
add that to that. We're trying to get rid of all the faded signs that are around town, and we'll probably need a few more around the lake.
And the buoy, the safety buoy. Like that sign is gone, the buoy's gone, which I mentioned last time, which we need to have back up there.
Yeah, that's been gone for a long time.
Yeah. And then I noticed that there is a wildlife sign there identifying the wildlife. I don't see one at Lake Como. So are there any plans with Spring Lake and Lake Como to add one there? I mean, talk about like, Feathered Friends and whatever. So there are
You
only...
talk about the treasure trail signs and stuff like that? Well, there is a treasure trail sign on our portion of Lake Como that talks about the lake and talks about the wildlife in there, but you have to actually access the podcast to get that information. All there is the little sign with the QR code, not the big time, because those other signs were an investment with a grant that was given to the Environmental Commission 15 years ago. And then the borough reinvested to put those signs back up. But all we did was replace what was there before. I guess we could talk to Spring Lake and Lake Como, see if they're interested in something like that. But
we don't really have that much area around that lake. So, it's...
I'm a serious hobbyist when it comes to wildlife photography. So I notice a lot of the different, species that are out there, and I think people would be interested in that too, especially children. Like, oh, just see the American coot, just see the ruddy ducks, like, all the different ducks that are out there. The double-crested cormorants, whatever. So, again, as far as a community thing, having stuff like out there, I think is very, again, Lake Como would be an interest of, Spring Lake, Lake Como, and Belmar, doing maybe that one. And it doesn't have to be, a treasure trail or whatever. Okay.
The Environmental Commission can send them a letter.
We'll say
we have interest in,
I'll relay that to the Environmental Commission.
A couple years ago, a small group of us met with the mayor and police chief, whatever, about these car rallies. Then there were talks about possibly increasing fines for these cars coming into town. Most notably, like fines because the cars are illegally outfitted. Mufflers gone. Once they leave the DMV, it's up to the municipalities to police that. It's not a DMV issue anymore. So what are we doing about that now, if anything's being done, or can we get back into discussion about that? Because look at I think it was Wildwood, or Seaside, whatever, they said, there were huge parties were gonna happen, and they shut them down. So I think Belmar really needs to take a strong stand on this and be much more vocal about, these car rallies coming into town. They're illegal. Like, hey, we're going to ticket you. For any car that's illegal, you're going to get a ticket, and you're going to have to come to court. Like, make that very vocal to them so they know that we're not going to put up with this. With the noise and all of that stuff. So, any talks about that?
Well, we have to be careful, and I think Mr. McGill will back me up on this, in terms of trying to stop people coming into town. There are certain, we can't do it. I mean, there are certain rights that people have. You can't just stop a vehicle without any cause.
Understood.
So I mean, in terms of preventing vehicles to come into the town, that's...
We're not trying to prevent them, but just tell them, hey, we have these fines. These fines are increasing if you're going to increase them. You will get a ticket if your car is illegal, just the basics.
Yeah, you have to also remember too that we have motor vehicle fines that are set by the state. There's Title 39, there's a whole slew of motor vehicle offenses, and we also have local offenses, right? So we have to stay within the parameters of whatever the state says are the minimum and maximum fines for that. Our local ordinances, we have a little more leeway because, we can set the fines for those ordinances. But we also have the Violations Bureau schedule, which is something that allows people to just come in and pay a fine. And that's something that, again, the court can establish, but that has to be approved by the assignment judge. So, I mean, it's possible, but we have to look at what offense we're actually talking about. And is it a state offense or is it a municipal offense? So, I mean, it's something we could definitely talk to, with the chief and our attorney and see what, if it makes sense to increase those fines. And I think, that's the most we could do in terms of the fines.
Okay. Question about paid parking. Is that starting May 1st?
Yes.
Okay. So a number of you on the council were against that last year as far as the $2 paid parking, starting May 1st to the number of hours. So has any of that changed? Are we going to be looking at reducing the hours? I know the $2 isn't going down to $1, but there are a lot of people who live in those areas where that paid parking is, and You know, there talks about, you know, hey, you can get a permit for the year so you don't have to pay the $2 an hour because you actually live in town, you're a resident.
I mean, I think we, that's a budget matter, which we really, you know, we've only been here for what, 3 months, 4 months? And I think we need to go through a whole year where we can really start to look at revenue and make sure we're not cutting ourselves short. So I mean, I don't think this was the year to look at it. I think we can start to look at that for potentially next year's budget and see if there's any leeway in where we can either change the times, make the time shorter, or adjust the fines. But you know, that's not going to happen this year. But you know, it's something that could happen in the future. I don't know. We really have to look at, you know, our revenue streams and make sure that we, you know, we're not cutting ourselves short. Because if we cut short our revenue streams, then that means the taxpayers are going to pay more money. Okay? Because actually, I wanted to make a comment too. You know, I don't know if you all realize though that the budget of the town is like $22 million, and the local property taxes that you pay and I pay for 38.5% of that budget. Okay, so the other, you know, 62% is paid by all the other revenue that comes into the town. So that's why those revenues are so important, because if those other revenues start to go down, then the amount to be raised by taxation goes up. So that's why, you know, we like to focus on revenue producing projects, and you know, like our marina brings in a lot of money, you know, so that, you know, those are the things that we're trying to maximize so that we keep the part that the public has to, you know, the homeowners have to contribute as low as we possibly can. But so to answer your question in a long way, no, we're not doing it this year, but we'll definitely take a look at it next year.
All right, so speaking of revenue, people running the red light at 35 is like 80% of the time. You're sitting at 8th Avenue ready to make a left, and the light turns green and people are flying through that red light, you know, towards the marina. So that's a revenue opportunity right there, taking those people going through that red light. I had a guy, no lie, a truck driver, and it was probably 5:30 in the morning. I'm trying to make a left. I'm green, and he makes a left on red in front of me. I mean, I know red light cameras are not coming back to New Jersey, but you know, that bridge is a big, you know, red light blowing opportunity.
Well, we are expecting at some point to have the crosswalk fixed. You're talking about between 8th Avenue, between Main Street and 35?
35, on 35. People coming over the bridge, blow through that red light, like 80% of the time. One more thing. I've been noticing a lot of construction vehicles parked for longer than the 48 hours. That's part of the ordinance in this town. Like, there's one down on near 8th and B. That truck, the 2 trucks have been there for I don't know, but at least a few weeks. So
I would let the police know.
Yeah. So, and it's not the only one. Right. So I think that the communication needs to improve, where you communicate with the business owners, with the people who have the permits on these construction, to say, by the way, you're not allowed to have construction vehicles parked on the street, you know, more than this 48-hour limit. Because they're like, oh, we don't know. Well, now you do. Okay.
They should know that. Every town has limits on construction. Commercial vehicles on the.
But I think, and I've not been in this position, but I believe that there's a lack of communication with noise ordinances, when people can start work, when people are not allowed to do work after a certain time. Merchants are not getting this information. And, you know, like, oh, we didn't know that. Because I'll ask them personally, you know, you're not supposed to move furniture at 2 o'clock in the morning, you know. So that type of stuff, you know, there's new merchants in town all the time. New homeowners doing construction. To be communicated, you know, right off the get-go. Here are the rules. All right? So, because I'm the one that calls the police all the time about, by the way, it's 7:30 in the morning, I'm not supposed to start this construction until 8. You know, why are they doing this? Oh, we didn't know. Come on. Why don't you be the one to call all the time? They're tired of hearing my voice. But anyway, if we can improve that communication, when construction's being done and there's a police officer involved, like has to be sitting there with traffic, the town would know, oh, the police need to be there, construct, no, that's supposed to construct till 8 o'clock. And they should know that, but they don't. So I don't know where the communication loss is, but I hope that that gets improved.
We can work on that,
So, all right.
absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Anyone else?
Don Witt, 904 Ocean Avenue. First off, I want to commend everybody here for at least attempting to try to break this down to a point where we can be civil and also, you know, try to minimize the impact of Belmar. When I was a kid, Belmar and Seaside and all these shore towns were for one reason: to go with families, be on a beach, walk the boardwalk, enjoy that pizza. If you put these towers by that boardwalk, what's the impact, health-wise, on the children, the families that are going to be on this beach? We're doing this for 4 or 5 months a year, not 12. I live there. And all I'm asking is for you guys to do the best job you can to help us, as Belmar residents, become one so we can eliminate these towers. Or we know they may be coming, but how about if we go to 10 instead of 20? But I would really love to know the impact health-wise, because I know the European Union in 2019 said all 5G towers will not be allowed in Europe. In 2021, thousands of scientists, thousands of medical doctors, researchers have said 5G towers should not be put in densely populated areas. Well, Belmar, in the spring, summer, up until October, is densely populated. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Real quick, as an FYI, I'm not crazy. Here's a CoStar article from 2018, and it shows the Belmar poles with the cells on top, and they said it was going to be every third pole.
But is that 5G? I don't think we had 5G in 2018. I'm not
So
sure.
this was not, okay.
Was that? It might be.
Yeah, February 2018. I'm thinking if they had the technology then for every third pole, and it was on top of it. It was on top of the light pole.
Things are moving very quickly,
Okay.
you know.
Mayor, were there options in the past for more opportunity to have them like on the poles or something in previous years?
No, the big thing that came before the zoning board, as someone mentioned, and it was denied, was the putting the extra antennas on the Mama Luke's building. And that went before the zoning board, and that was denied. And it was, and that was a 4G system that they wanted to cover the beach up at the south end. But even those during those presentations and hearings before the zoning board, they said that and it was really a different group, but they implied that the 5G would still go ahead, whether or not, you know, we had approved the 4G for Mama Luke's. So if you look at the consent order, you'll see as part of the whole consent order, you know, they agreed, you know, out of the goodness of their hearts, not to appeal the zoning board decision on the Mama Luke site, because now they were getting the 20 poles, you know, along the beach. But that was the only other thing that was happening back then, was you know, they wanted to expand 4G to cover the beach, but they gave up on that, and instead, you know, I think they just pushed through with the 5G. The other thing you have to realize too, and I'm not an expert on this, but I just realized there's different, just because you say 5G, there's like 3 versions of 5G, you know, 3 flavors. There's the one that they want to put up on our boardwalk, which is a millimeter wave, which is very, very wide, but it goes very short distances. And then there's another flavor of 5G, which covers a much broader area, but it doesn't really give you that much bandwidth. And then there's even another one that gives you more area, but again, it doesn't cover much of what they want to cover. So just be careful if you're reading and you hear 5G. Well, not all 5G is the same. You know, it could be transmitted differently, and you know, the ones that they want to put on the beach are what they call the millimeter wave 5G. And those are the ones that don't go through buildings. You know, they won't go through. If it rains hard, they said there could even be a problem because there's such short distance waves. So that's why they have to put so many poles close together. So it's even more confusing as you get more and more into it. But you know, just a point of information. Any other questions? Yes.
John Savior, 11th Ave. Just really quickly, I love what's going on with QR code, Belmar locals, all the Belmar pages I put up there. But I think we do need to have, like you said, a consistent voice. And I'd love to work with you and whoever to brand it out, have a message, a marketing campaign, because we're a famous town. Belmar's famous regardless. So if we got us together, got it around, put it on social media, I think it would really work. Once we have that campaign set on our side, I think it'd be great, and would behoove the town, marketing speaking wise, to have a place on your social media, on your website, that shows where we can link everybody, put everyone together, and have that central message. Because I think if we have that central message, we should have, you know, friends doesn't even know about us. How do they not know about us? So let's make them know about us, and the only way I can do to help, I will donate my time for that. Not for politics, because I love my town, period. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Laura Ravano, 13th Avenue. I have a question regarding the towers that are now on top of the hotel. Do they become obsolete now that Verizon's putting these towers? And then what happens when these towers become obsolete? Will Verizon have to take them down and put something else up?
No, I mean, I'm not an engineer, but the towers above the hotel are 4G towers, and
Right.
they're going to stay there, I believe.
But if everything's
Until
going
4G doesn't
5G,
exist.
and then what if 6G comes and 7G, then?
I think there was something in the agreement. I have to check if the towers aren't used for a period of time, I think. I'm not sure, but I think they are obligated to take them down, but that's, you know, I'll be, you know, long gone before that
Not the way
happens,
everything
you know?
moves these days.
Well, you know.
I'm keeping my iPhone 8.
Any other questions? Okay. Maria?
You gotta raise a hand.
You gotta raise your hand, you know, I mean,
It's a message on my old page.
yeah,
I don't need this.
you know.
Maria Florio, 115 12th Avenue. I have a question that may not be interesting to anybody but us seniors. I go every Monday at the Taylor Pavilion and I play games. We have fun for 2.5 hours. Lucky we get a cup of coffee. Okay. Now I understand in 2 weeks, it's over. Now, where do we go? Where do we seniors, is that correct English?
Yeah, that's
Where
perfect
do we
English.
seniors go? You don't have a question. You want to throw us in the ocean? I can't swim. No, really, we have no place. We did have the church on 7th Avenue that every day, all day, you hung your coffee cup up, nothing. So, you know, we're part of this town.
I would love to, you know, I mean, it's always in the back of my mind because I'm a senior too.
I
you
don't
know?
care.
And
I want something done.
well, thank you very much. Let's go No,
But
I mean, it's
anyway,
definitely,
so
it's definitely.
now in the
something.
summertime, we have no place to go.
And I mean, I think unfortunately it's been like that since the church closed.
Well, can't we get a building or rent something for us, or, you know?
But we have a building on 12th Avenue, but we can't even go in it because it's contaminated. So, I mean, you know, that was, you know, then we can't use that. So, you know, believe me, I'm trying to think of things,
So
but,
that's
you know, we're
another
not,
question that cannot be answered.
not right tonight.
Yesterday.
We haven't forgotten about it.
Okay, I'm gonna What's today's date? I'm gonna come.
25.
What is it, the first Tuesday?
25.
4:25. I'll be live by the next meeting.
If you only knew the plans that I have up here, you know,
I know, you have a lot of.
everybody would be running out
I'm
screaming.
much older than you, I have more up here than you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria. Anyone else?
Gerald Caton, 14th Avenue. You're talking about this 5G. Has anybody contacted the PUC, Public Utilities Commission?
I don't know, but I don't know that they fall under the Public Utilities.
Yeah, it
Commission.
does.
I don't know.
Trust me, it does.
If you,
They're a New Jersey regulated authority that monitors all of this stuff.
well, that's another option that people can write to.
Right, Board of Public Utilities. I mean, that's where you make the complaint. That's where you get your folks to, sign up on a petition, send it in. They contacted the Verizon ombudsman, and then, maybe they can stop it at least, or at least delay
It's
it.
definitely worth a shot.
How do you do that? Probably should come from your offices, right?
Well, even individuals can make complaints.
Well, that's true, but if it comes from the municipality, that has a little bit more forceful weight behind it, especially if there's a petition that everybody signs. So how can we get that established?
Get a petition signed,
Is
give
there
it to us,
somebody here
and
that
we'll
wants to
forward it
take
to
that action?
we'll forward it to the Public Utility
Yeah, I
Authority.
mean, everybody talks a lot about this stuff, but nobody's taking any action on it.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Good mayor.
Right?
Right?
And I'm asking for the public's help.
What, huh?
I'm asking for the public's help.
Okay,
We
so
need
why
you
don't you
to,
get a commission together, or somebody that's, designate somebody from your group and say, work with these people, get a statement together, everybody sign it, and let's see where it goes.
okay.
Okay?
Yep.
So
Would you like to do that?
I'll help.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
Yes, we will
Will
do
you-
that.
Will you get the petition and give it to us, and we'll send it on? Okay? That's the way it works.
We think there's already petition.
There was already a petition out there. There's a change.org petition.
Don't you think it should come from you folks?
I think it should come from the public also. You know,
It will come from the public, we'll start with government here.
Right.
And if we have to go door to door, we'll go door to door.
That's what you have to do.
You know, because for me, we came down to Belmar for our grandchildren. Right, we grew up here and then we came back with them. We have 7 houses now because all the kids bought a house down here. But I don't want them going onto the beach and sunbathing under 5G. That's ridiculous. I'll go back up to Bergen County where there's other kind of pollution, but it's not invisible. I mean, think about it. Your cell phone has prohibited the bees from coming around the garden. You come down here, there's birds, there's whales. They're not gonna be here with 5G. So I don't care what they look like. We can't see what's actually happening to us. But because it's invisible doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
And
So
like the
we have
gentleman
to-
was saying, just a few short people before us, I mean, that's the truth. I mean, there's really a danger here that, everybody should be aware of and really, employ that as a method of trying to stop this stuff. Now, I'm not saying you guys haven't done, what you think correctly, what you try to do, but it seems to me that there hasn't really been that much of an effect. Oh, let's roll over because it's Verizon. Let me tell you, I work for Verizon, and if you push them enough, they'll at least delay to a certain degree, and maybe you can get them to change their mind on a few things.
There's gotta be an angle. We didn't even know about this until we saw Belmar Locals a few days ago. If it wasn't for Belmar Locals, we didn't know.
Well, if it wasn't for me mentioning it at the meeting, no one would know about it. So that's the whole answer.
We're great.
I agree with you. You're preaching to the choir. None of us want it.
We're all, and I'm
So
sure everybody.
it's just a matter of coming up with a strategy to do it. We can do our part, you guys have to do your
You know,
part.
I'm happy to step up and be a liaison if you would like to. Email me, jkitty@belmar.com, and I can be a liaison to the rest of the council. If that's what you would like, sign a petition, get it going. Caitlin, John, we can talk. I'm happy to step up and volunteer my time and at least be a point person if that's what you're looking for.
That would be great.
I was just going to say, if we want a campaign to be successful, I don't think the CEO of Verizon is the person to do it. We should be contacting their government relations person. We should be getting in touch with our elected officials. But what would be really helpful here, especially the people who are on Ocean Ave, if we could get your stories to come in, someone who can testify that, like, this is going to affect me and I'm worried about it affecting my children, because that's also something that will run in the paper. Absolutely. And Verizon will be very sensitive to the paper being
Yeah.
It's also going to affect them as their bottom line if people threaten to switch carriers.
So let's all talk.
And News 12, somebody suggested News 12.
Can I just add one thing to what you just said?
Yes.
The CEO of Verizon, as the CEO of most major corporations, they get compensated not on just the business that they do, but the camaraderie and, you know, and the lack of pressure that they get from the citizens. So if you direct your emails, your mail, your social media, all that other stuff against him, well, he's going to take notice. He really is going to take notice. And he's a decent guy, by the way. No, seriously. I mean, he's not one of these, hard-nosed guys. I mean, he's a decent man, and he understands. So you just got to hit him in the right direction.
And what's his name?
Back on that, if anybody
Hans
knows
Vestberg.
about Twitter, that's the way to go with big corporations.
Yep.
Does anybody follow, or is anybody on Twitter? I know, I'm not a big Twitter person either, but from what I understand, if you start complaining on Twitter, they have people that troll Twitter specifically. So look for complaints, because they don't want the negative press.
Right.
So get a Twitter account. That's another thing that you can do.
Any other comments? Going once, twice, three times?
Can I have a motion to close the public session?
Motion.
What's his name?
All in favor? Aye. We still have resolution of the council to adjourn into executive session, whereas it has been determined by the Borough Council, Borough of Belmar, that it is necessary to discuss.
Excuse me, the meeting's not over. We still have one more resolution to do.
Yep, we're still recording. Thank you. So whereas it's been determined by the Council of the Borough of Belmar that it is necessary to discuss the following specific matter at its regular meeting of April 25th in the absence of the public, pending or anticipated litigation and the attorney-client privilege communications related thereto. And whereas the Open Public Meetings Act permits the Borough Council to exclude the public from that portion of a public meeting during which such matters are discussed. Now therefore be it resolved by the council as follows, that the Borough Council shall forthwith recess into a private executive session from which the public shall be excluded to discuss the above referenced matters, that the scope of the aforesaid executive session shall be limited to the above matters as stated, that those matters discussed in executive session shall remain confidential until such time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists, that the minutes of the closed session shall be taken and kept free from the public review until such time that the need for confidentiality no longer exists, as determined by the Borough Attorney, and that the regular meeting of the Borough Council shall resume after private executive session, at which time the Borough Council may take action in reference to the topic discussed. Do we have a motion to authorize this resolution?
Motion.
Second. Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Buckles?
Yes.
Councilman Rondenaro?
Yes.
Councilman Levitt?
Yes.
Thank you.